when sometimes when you hear about probability, it may be more in the terms of odds. Of course, the big example, odds, is like if you go to a racetrack, horse racing, you hear about the odds there. Sometimes they give odds of certain things occurring. Well, odds are a little different than what it is, what probability is. So let's talk about that. Actually, there's two kinds of odds. There's odds in favor, and then there's odds against. So let's again do, I'll just give you the definition here. So the odds in favor of event E. Here's what that is. That's going to be, what you do is you put the number, let's just do that here. So odds in favor. That's going to equal the number of successes or favorable outcomes is more how they put it here. Favorable, same as successes. And it won't always be, but we're going to use it in this book anyway, a colon to separate the other number. There are two numbers to it, and sometimes you do see it as a fraction, but we're just going to kind of distinguish between the two with a colon instead of a fraction. So it's the number of favorable outcomes, and then the second number is not the total number in odds. For odds in favor, the second number is the number of unfavorable outcomes. So that's called the odds in favor. So it's favorable to unfavorable, and sometimes you'll see that word, favorable to unfavorable. That's the odds in favor, or colon. Okay? So again, that second number is not the total. It's something else. We'll talk about specific ones here in a second. Now, the odds against, the only difference between odds in favor and odds against is those two things are flip-flopped. So the odds against are the unfavorable colon the favorable, or unfavorable to favorable. So it's just flip-flopped. You just flip-flop those two numbers. All right. So with that in mind, let's take a look at some examples here. All right, so let's talk about, all right, so we flip two coins. Number one, what are the odds in favor of getting both heads? Two heads. Or the odds in favor of getting two heads. Well, again, we're back to the flipping of two coins, all right? And so let's just write the sample space here. Heads, heads, tails, tails, heads, tails, tails, heads. So the odds in favor are favorable colon unfavorable, or put the word to there if you want, but if you prefer, but we'll use the colon here. So the favorable ones are, of course, the two heads. Well, of course, we know it's the same as successes. There is one favorable outcome here, one success. Now, what's the second number? Not 4. The second number is unfavorable, so what would the second number here be? Well, so that's the favorable, The other three then are unfavorable. These are the ones that don't have both heads. So those are what they term the unfavorable outcomes in this particular case. So the odds in favor, 1 to 3, yes. 1:3 or 1 to 3. All right, see that? A little different. The probability of 2 heads was 1/4. The odds in favor are 1 to 3. And so odds against getting 2 heads, so what we said was the odds in favor, odds against are just flip-flop. The odds against are just flip-flop that.
So 3 to 1.
So it'd be 3 to 1. So it's unfavorable, colon favorable, so it's 3. The 3 is first, because that's the unfavorable first, and then the 1 is second. And that typically is how, in horse racing, the odds are given. They're as odds against. Unfavorable to favorable, odds against. Okay? All right, so let's just do a couple more, just for example here. We haven't done one with 3 coins. What are the odds in favor of getting exactly 2 tails when 3 coins are flipped? What are the odds in favor of getting exactly 2 tails when 3 coins are flipped? Well, again, we haven't written this one out, so let's write out the outcomes here that we could have. 3 coins, so we could have all 3 heads. We could have 1 head and 2, let's say 2 heads and 1 tail. However, again, the order is important here. So we could have 2 heads, 1 tail, and then we could have heads, tails, heads, or we could have tails, heads, heads. All with 2 heads, but they are different. What else do we have? 2 heads, 1 tail, so we could have 3 heads. Let's do 2 tails and 1 head. Just kind of do it in order. So we could have tails, tails, heads, we could have tails, heads, tails, or we could have heads, tails, tails. Or then we could have all 3 tails. Yes? All right. So there's 8 possibilities. However, we want the odds in favor, which the odds in favor, the order goes, we want favorable to unfavorable. So let's figure this out. How many of them had exactly 2 tails? That would be the favorable ones, right? 2 tails. Exactly 2 tails. This one, this one, this one, yeah. These 3 right here. Those would be my favorable ones. So there's 3 of them that are favorable. Now it has to be exactly 2 tails, so this one has 3, so that doesn't fit in the category. What's the second number? Second number is not the total, it's the number of unfavorable. So it's what's left over, right? So all these and this one, those are the unfavorable. Those 4, and then that last one there, so there's 5. The odds in favor are 3 to 5. 3 to 5. Okay? Question or concern? Let me do one more, because there's another little point here to make. Hasn't come up yet, so, okay, this. What are the odds against rolling a multiple of 3 when a single die is rolled? What are the odds against rolling a multiple of 3 when a single die is rolled? Okay, so this is a much simpler outcome possibilities here, isn't it? Because we're just rolling a single die. So rolling a single die, the possibilities we can get are 1 through 6, right? Now, we want the odds against rolling a multiple of 3. So how many of those are multiples of 3? Yeah, 3 is a multiple of 3 and 6 is a multiple of 3, right? So those are my favorable ones. The other two are unfavorable, right? The others are unfavorable. So these and these would be unfavorable. So first of all, let's identify those. Everybody good? There's 4 unfavorable, there's 2 favorable. Well, what are the odds against then? What's the order when we do odds against? Just the opposite. It's just the opposite of odds in favor. It's the unfavorable first, then we do the favorable. All right? So 4 to 2. 4 colon 2. You got 4 unfavorable, 2 favorable. Now this is why I did this one, because this is just like a fraction. If there's something that you can reduce, they will reduce those. Like here, there's a common factor of 2, just like it was a fraction. So if I reduce those, divide that by 2, divide that by 2, it turns into 2 to 1 odds. 2 to 1 odds against. So you do reduce them kind of like they are a fraction. Is that okay?